Hey friends, just a quick update from the woods. It's been a while since I've been out in some real raw nature, and man, does it feel good looking up at all the hemlock trees. Got some birch back in here adjacent to the swamp. Check out this game trail running right through here. You can see a lot of deer, coyote are back in this area. Tons of red twig dogwood in there. Springtime is coming up. Cattails. I used to harvest a lot of cattails out of this swamp. The delicious cattail shoots. But you can see this very clear game trail running through here. Yeah, springtime's coming. Can hear the birds starting to chirp. Absolutely wonderful. Got a nice little white pine that's growing right there. Some white birch here. Hemlock. Should put a link, some videos I did in the past setting up tarps back here during rainstorms. Actually, right in this area, it was kind of like a day camp I used to use quite a bit. Anytime you're near water, you're gonna see wildlife. And there's tons of wildlife back in here. I've seen deer. I know people who have seen coyote back in here. Birch, polypore, fungus growing on here. This stuff's edible. You know, all these fungi have medicinal properties, anti-cancer, anti-bacterial, antiviral properties. But yeah, almost mid-April, and all this stuff is going to come alive real soon. So nice, you know, living in town and then to come out into nature and just see raw nature, you know, just the way trees grow and fall on their own. When you're in town for a long time, you forget what it's like. I mean, I used to spend a lot of time in the woods, actually living in a wooded situation, different periods of my life. But again, getting away from it, kind of forget what it's like. It takes a little acclimation to, you know, get used to it. But man, once you just get into the nature and take a deep breath, look up in the treetops, especially is a favorite thing I love to do. Sometimes spot great horned owls in the tall white pines. Not so much in here, but in an area not too far from here, I've seen quite a few great horned owls. And this is a stick, a fallen stick that I've walked across many years. And let's see if I can do this successfully holding my Android phone, my acute sense of balance. That went pretty well. Very wet in here. It always is a little wet in this area where I am right now. But especially with the spring thaws. Mud season is what we call it in New England. Let's take a little stroll up here with you guys. It's an unseasonably warm day. It's about 50 degrees out here today, which is very warm for where I am in southern Maine. Remnants of old farm equipment. I believe there used to be cow pastures back in here, grazing. I've seen a lot of stone walls in the woods back in this area. This is definitely game trail activity right in here. You see all this activity with these divots in the ground here, guys. A lot of deer come through here. But anytime you see that kind of stuff, and I mean, it's just quite obvious coming right up through here. It's used with a lot of game because there's water. And again, wherever there's water, there's life. There's also a foxhole around here somewhere, as I remember. Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of game trail coming through here. Oh yeah, I see that foxhole I was talking about. Let me take a little walk up here and see if we can. Yellow birch again. I love those trees. More yellow birch right in here. Also got some red oak in here. See, like, this is interesting. This used to be some kind of farm cistern or something like that, because again, there's a metal, rusted metal container over there. This woods is pretty grown up though. It's pretty mature, so I'm thinking that's 100 years ago. I'm guessing this was some sort of dam, some sort of dammed up farm situation, because you see that water. It's kind of like a vernal pool, but if you dam this up, there would be water in here all summer long. And I don't know if this is a coyote or foxhole back in here, guys. But right in here, see that? I reckon there's something that's lived under there for a while. Anyway, a lot of fun. A lot of fun tromping through the woods, discovering stuff. So peaceful and quiet. Just taking a walk. It's fun when you get to know different patches of woods too. You know, you get a... Like the Native Americans, man, they must have had just such a life with knowing the lay of the land, and they could find themselves out of the thickest woods without having any bearings and still be able to navigate. I read Thoreau's, Henry David Thoreau's book, The Maine Woods, last winter. And that was indicated how the Indians could get their way out of anything. Check out this massive white pine, guys. Man, this is, I believe that's old growth. Let me try to give you a scale of this white pine. This is the giant of the woods here, right here. Beautiful tree. This is the kind of tree where great horned owls would hang out in. Really nice. Very peaceful. Here's some more of that vernal pool action I was mentioning. This will actually stay filled with water right here, right up through summer, until it gets really, we get those drought periods or it doesn't rain, and then it'll dry up. But you know that animals, you know, this is what it's all about. When you see water, that's where life is going to congregate. And that's why you see all those game trails coming by here. Another beautiful yellow birch right here. Very, very nice. It's awfully nice to be back here. You know, I do so many videos lately in town. You know, when I started this channel, guys, back in 2013, I was always messing around doing stuff in the woods. I'll post some links to some of that stuff, bushcraft videos, etc., you know, years ago. And honestly, in the past few years, I've kind of fallen away. I really kind of live in town, and my life really revolves around kind of being in town. And I miss it. I miss not being in the woods. And it's one thing I want more of to integrate back into my life. Just being out here today is just reminding me of just how important it is. Just observations. There's some animal tracks running right through here, and they're going this way. Let's see if we can identify them. Oh, it looks like deer to me. It looks like a hoof. See that hoofed kind of profile? I'm guessing deer. but all through here. This is kind of fun. I'm coming up on an old camp that I made, like a survival bushcraft shelter. I should probably post a video to that too. I made this thing, guys, oh, I don't know, 7 years ago or so. See how it's all collapsed? Still see the remnants of it. You know, when I see stuff like this in the woods, it reminds me of how the Native Americans, with their teepees, long houses, etc. I wonder how long they actually survived these structures in the woods while settlers and colonists would find them. I'm guessing a good 50 years, you know. A lot of that stuff, a lot of those structures in the woods with the Native American settlements. But, you know, the earth reclaims everything, especially stuff made out of birch bark and woven together through spruce roots and you know, either oak or ash ribbing or ash bark and other forms of bark. You know, that may survive intact. I'm sure many colonists, actually in that book I read, it was mentioned, The Maine Woods by Henry David Thoreau, was mentioned on the shores of Moosehead Lake up in northern Maine, where the party, the hunting party that he was part of, was coming up across ancient Indian camps still. And that was, I believe, like in the 1830s, 50s, something around there, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, even decades later, there were obvious signs of Indian camps, which of course now in 2019 would be all but gone, except for possibly, you know, finding archaeological finds like arrowheads and stuff like that. Oh man, this is nice. It's fun to do a video for you guys too, just tromping around in the woods. Just to observe, listen, smell the warming smells coming out of the ground. Oh, here we go, guys. Those are canine. These are canine tracks right here. Very, very clearly coyote. And they're not small. That is not a small coyote track. They look fresh too. And I'm following into the woods here. They are pretty fresh. And this area here is very thick. It's very swampy back in here too. And I've heard coyotes yipping in here. I mean, this looks as fresh as my own footsteps, so I may just kind of discreetly move out of this area. But you know, that's where coyotes love this kind of stuff. They take shelter and dens back in this really dense cover back in there. So that was a big track too, man. That is a formidable coy dog. Sometimes we used to call them coy dogs. Actually, you've been reading about these kind of wolf, not kind of, these wolf-coyote hybrids, which are coming up on the scene. There's a black cherry tree right there. Yeah, these wolf-coyote hybrids are really making an appearance, like all over the country, from what I understand. The coyotes are breeding with gray wolves, and they're creating a much larger animal than traditionally, you know, with regular coyotes. So that's kind of interesting. But maybe that's why I'm not seeing too many signs of animal life back in here. Maybe the coyotes or these wolf-coyote hybrids are eating everything back in here. That was a really fresh track, though. I'm wondering if that animal heard me trouncing around back in here. It's quite possible. You know, they can hear, they can smell from quite a ways away. This is turkey tail fungus. This stuff's actually edible. It also has anti-cancer, antiviral properties. Turkey tail fungus. I know that this is where the animals come through. Again, there's that swamp area that I started off on. Check out this game trail. It's like a highway. This woods goes quite a ways back. And but I just thought I would do just a quick tour here. I always like to see if I can identify some of these tracks. But after seeing what we just saw up there, pretty guaranteed that there's major coyote coming up through here. As well as deer. I've seen deer back here. Of course, you know, the coyote and the deer go hand in hand, because the coyote, along with humans, is white-tailed deer's predator. The apex predator in these woods would be the coyotes. And up in the tree line would be the great horned owls, as well as hawks. Actually, kind of cool anecdote. A few years ago, I was back here and I saw a hawk flying right over that sky, right in there, with a long 4-foot snake hanging out of its talons, guys. That hawk had just come down in here somewhere, you know, in the woods along the swamp, and grabbed that snake. Was making off with it. You know, those birds of prey, those raptors, their eyesight is absolutely amazing. And they can see a snake like that from, I don't know how far, really far. More white birch in here. So I'm heading out of this woods slowly. It's been a great tour for you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Just a chillaxing walk through the woods, some nature observations. It's been a lot of fun to share this stuff with you guys. Please post your comments below if you're getting out and enjoying nature as well. It really makes a difference, man, just to come out and really take a deep breath. I'm even noticing it just on this walk, just how my whole chest is just kind of relaxing, you know, just get that decompression feeling of connecting with nature just on a simple walk in the raw woodland. Now I'm back on a more public trail here. Kind of some of the stuff you only get out in raw nature. Listening to the gentle gurgling of the melting snow and ice underneath this ledge of ice here. Really peaceful. Can you hear that?